Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Pokemon Black. We're finishing up Chargestone Cave in this part, so huzzah for a bunch of grunts in the way.
Oh,
Now
none
we
of this
gotta
Team
fight,
Plasma
so.
Gun has anything to say about it.
I mean, I'm gonna kick his ass anyway, so I need the experience points.
Yeah, they do look really weird in the overhead chibi. I like the design on the normal sized figures, like the anime styled artwork that you see in battle. But yeah, definitely.
I gotta say though, of all the medieval armor looks you could choose, Chain Coif is probably the doofiest, no matter the style.
I think I'm trying to think. The thing about Pokemon sprites is that the Gen 1, Gen 2 style, little small people sprite was not really, always feels like it was something that was made via tech limitations as opposed to an artistic choice. The Pokemon sprites looked like that because they needed to have characters fit on a small Game Boy screen. Not because they wanted it to look that way. Which made the weird transition period, especially Gen 6, look really off to me. Versus Gen 7 when Pokemon just have trainers just have full-size models at a battle all the time, which definitely I think fits the vibe that they're going for a lot better than what ended up happening in Gen 6 and to some extent Gen 5.
Specifically, the reason Pokemon has always had this sort of sprite style is because JRPG designers are fucking bandwagon jumpers, and they do not leave their trends behind lightly. Which is why, when Dragon Quest became popular, every JRPG started to use a style similar to Dragon Quest, unless they were Phantasy Star. But Phantasy Star didn't get popular, so,
Hey, Shin Megami Tensei would like to have a word with you. They didn't do this. They had a triangle and a circle, and they put them on top of each other. And that's their overhead sprite. Man, how dare you? I mean, so you're jokes aside, you are right, but Pokemon is always kind of focused more on the big head kind of aspect for it versus the sprite-based Final Fantasy games, just as another example, had closer to normal proportions. Obviously the heads were big.
Not until 6. The field sprites stayed big head, little body until 6. 6 sort of changed the proportions to a more even distribution on the field sprites to match the battle sprites, which were larger and more detailed, even in 4 and 5. But the overworld sprites remained lower detailed, bigger head.
I'm looking at some sprites right now for Final Fantasy IV, and it's definitely not as much as Pokemon, but you are right in that the proportions were still very much focused on the head at that point.
Yeah. It wouldn't be until 8 until they made a more realistic proportioned for both overworld and battle.
Yeah, the Final Fantasy VI was the only 2D sprite-based mainline Final Fantasy game that had the same sprite quality in and out of battle. So you could say they were the Final Fantasy VIII of 2D games. But,
No, it was 6. Or in America, 3.
Oh man. Talking about the old Final Fantasy games, I don't blame Square for marketing them that way. You don't want to market a game as Final Fantasy
I
4.
do. Maybe next time you should just release 5.
Look, at the time, looking at the weird numbering scheme at the time, we didn't have the internet. It was hard to find this shit out about the series without going into dedicated gaming message boards in the early internet era.
Magazine publications would often cover upcoming releases from in the import section, but you never knew if that game was actually going to get localized.
If you were actually reading that stuff, though, you were already in the dedicated crowd. So, a little bit of confusion wasn't going to bother you much.
You also have to remember that the original Final Fantasy, it came out in 87 in Japan, but it came out in 1990 in the States. So, by that point, it didn't make Square to, release. It didn't make sense for Square to release Final Fantasy 2, the Japanese 2, to the States because like the Super Nintendo had already been a thing at that point. It also didn't make sense because Final Fantasy 2 is not a good game, and you would have turned away your market for your better game.
I think outside of like the end game stuff, though, I think 3 would have sold well, like OG 3.
OG 3 probably would have done fine. I mean, it's mostly just a worse Dragon Quest 3, so you know, like it probably would have done okay. I mean, granted, the Dragon Warrior games didn't do well. 3, despite 3 and 4 both being excellent, even on the NES, neither did particularly well.
Most of the RPG market at that early point in time was on the PC, not on consoles, because consoles in America particularly were marketed more as children's gaming devices, whereas the PC gaming market was geared very much toward the adults. So,
and the 32X.
What was the 32X even marketed at? I don't understand that console.
Sega's just sitting there. I don't know.
B-movie enthusiasts, I guess? Because that's what most of the 32X exclusive games are. Just, you know how when you bought a DVD in, the early 2000s?
Also, I want to clarify something. When Ted said B-movie enthusiasts, he's talking about, B-rated movies, not the B-movie.
That's what I was thinking too. It wasn't just me.
I hate the B movies so much. Oh my god. Anyway, so do you remember when you got a Disney movie in the early 2000s and it would come with this little really shitty game where you had to use the buttons on the DVD player to choose a thing that's every 32X game, pretty much.
More Sega CD than 32X.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. I'm man. How could I get? That is more CD. You're
Sega
right.
CD did kind of get lost in that FMV gaming craze that arose when they realized that they could have video files play from a CD. Ooh.
You know what? You're right. I completely got those things swapped in my mind. Which brings us back to our original question: who was the 32X market?
The 32X had more interesting games than the Sega CD, but it also had almost none in total. So it was more traditional game design, but it was also not enough of a shift to justify the immense expense of getting a big chunky peripheral for your console and plugging it in when there was a shiny new console that had just come out right over there on that shelf. Doesn't that look more interesting, Mom? I want that. And it's only $50 more.
So the 32X has 40 games total released on the thing.
Does that include the CD and 32X hybrid games? Or
yes, that does include the 32X CD games. For context, the Virtual Boy had 22. So it's almost double the Virtual Boy.
You know what? I've never I've known about the 32X CD hybrid stuff ever since the AVGN mentioned it years ago. But I never actually took the time to look up how that worked.
You need both. There's hold on, I've got a list on Wikipedia here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 games that need both.
Here was the thing, right? Okay, the 32X was a 32-bit add-on for the Genesis, so it had 32-bit hardware in there. The Sega CD wasn't really a 32-bit thing; it was just a disk drive thing, maybe with some additional audio hardware in there and everything. But when you play Shining Force CD, it's not really all that much more technically impressive than Shining Force 2. It's just playing off a CD, and it's got some CD-based music.
Most of the time, a CD version of a Genesis game was just higher quality audio.
Yes.
I think that was literally it.
Sonic CD looked a little bit better.
Sonic CD looked a little bit better than Sonic 1, but it didn't look much better than Sonic 3, It was... I would say, effectively,
mostly similar.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say better or worse because they have such different art styles, but you get my point. It's still like a Genesis game with CD quality audio. The 32X could do things like Doom, and the extremely smooth animation quality of Knuckles Chaotix.
So basically, what the 32X CD games get you, right, is the 32-bit power of a hardware plus CD quality, like CD quality
Audio.
music and
Yeah.
storage space. So you combine one console and two overpriced accessories to get something worse than the PlayStation, which was coming out in like a year.
I just don't understand how the two like peripherals interacted with each other.
I assume that like all of the processing is happening in the 32-bit cartridge, and then it's just pulling data from the CD whenever it needs it.
Yeah, it's not all that complicated. Just imagine the N64 with the expansion pack plugged in.
Yeah, but it's not as if you plug in a game into the expansion pack itself, though.
Also, I don't think that even Nintendo knew how the expansion pack worked, because if Donkey Kong 64 is anything to go by, they didn't. Quick aside for anybody who doesn't know that story, the reason why Donkey Kong 64 came with an expansion pack was there was a game-breaking bug.
I know what you're talking about. That was confirmed enough.
It was converted to myth. Aw.
Yeah, Dev said that's not true.
Aw. I liked that story, though. It was a fun story. Why can't the fun story just be true, even if it wasn't?
Honestly, the reason it came with an expansion pack was probably because they wanted more of those goddamn things in circulation so that they could make games with them.
There's very few games that require it. It's like, the three off the top of my head are Majora's Mask, Pokemon Stadium 2, Donkey Kong 64.
Well, I mean, yeah, the big problem with console peripherals, especially in the earlier days when, it was harder to market this stuff, is that, not enough people would buy them, and then developers wouldn't want to make games for them because they were effectively hamstringing their own sales by making games that require a peripheral that hardly anyone ever had. So no one would buy their game.
Okay, so the only games that require it are DK64, Zelda, Majora's Mask, and Perfect Dark. When it comes to games that like are enhanced by it, it's like a couple dozen. It's not a ton.
Man, why don't more people talk about Perfect Dark?
Well, they can't because Microsoft laid off a lot of people that were working on the next game.
I did hear about that. Where like,
I mean the original Perfect Dark.
Unfortunately, it lives in the shadow of GoldenEye, which is
confusing since it's a better GoldenEye, but
it doesn't have James Bond on it.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, the one has James Bond, the other one doesn't.
No one played GoldenEye for James Bond. They played it for the multiplayer.
Yeah. So yeah, but that's what got people in the door was GoldenEye. It also has the Diddy Kong Racing problem, where Diddy Kong Racing, by all accounts, is a better game than Mario Kart 64. However, Mario Kart 64 was just so ingrained with people that like that's just what people played. They didn't want to buy another racing game. They had a perfectly good racing game, So even if Diddy Kong Racing is better, people just didn't buy it as much. Wasn't as popular, and that kind of stuff compounds. So it's the same sort of deal with Perfect Dark. Like, better game than GoldenEye, definitely. But, the lack of the recognizable IP. It was also, I think, a fairly late N64 game, like 2000.
Yeah.
And by that point, the N64, like, the hype had really fallen off, and people were already thinking about the next big thing, the GameCube, the PS2. I'm sure somebody out there was thinking about the Xbox.
So, to comment on what's happening on screen, what does N say if you tell him you don't have a dream?
He just says, "Oh, you're weird." Pretty much. Nothing really changes too much when, no matter what you say, in this.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing, but it is what it is.
It would be nice if, like, your interactions with a character in a Pokemon game actually did slightly impact, like, the dialogue or the story. Like, I don't think we need a social links in Pokemon, but
I don't know.
something like
It feels like the kind of answer that should give you a cool joke response, if nothing else. You know.
about thou must, yeah. I would like that, yeah.
I mean, I don't expect N to try and kick me in the face for saying no, but you know, I at least expect him to respond to the fact that I just baldly said no. I don't have any dreams for the future.
No, what are you, cringe?
I'm not cringe. Pokeballs are cringe. Oh, this was another design I think people kind of harped on was...
What, the gears? Yeah.
Yeah.
Colonel Clink!
Clink just sounds like just looks like a not Magnemite to me, to be honest.
So the thing that I like about Clink, it's not a great Pokemon. I'm gonna start off with that. But the thing I do think is interesting about it is that unlike Magnemite, where it just kind of feels like three of them haphazardly slapped together. When you look at the sprites for the three different evolution stages for this, they're all like exactly the same, but with the extra parts put on top. So it looks like it's a machine that's building, as opposed to just like, oh, there was one Magnemite and now three are stuck together. I feel like that comes across a little bit less in 3D models than in sprites. Because it's like literally the same sprite, but more stuff is on top of it.
I have a question. Why does N throw out a Pokeball when he releases a Pokemon? Doesn't he, like, just have them follow him around?
He's trying it our way to see how it works more than anything.
I see.
Doesn't mean he agrees with it. He's just kind of going along with it for...
I mean, hasn't he always been, like, throwing Pokemon from Pokeballs, though, since we first battled him?
I think it might just be a matter of the animation. I know, like, I think that might just be the animation that plays every time a Pokemon's swapped out. Yeah. I do know that in Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, because that game had the Pokemon following you, when you sent out your first Pokemon, there was not a Pokemon throwing animation.
Yeah, well, I'm saying they've been doing that since Yellow. Because Pikachu didn't have a Pokeball animation. Pikachu would just slide in.
Oh, he doesn't? It's been a long time since I played Yellow.
Oh,
okay.
I just realized that Bianca is accompanying Juniper as a bodyguard now.
Yeah, what she eventually finds out she wants to do is be a Pokemon assistant, and then you see her follow up on that in Black White 2, where she is the one who gives you your starter Pokemon.
Yeah, she's still working with Juniper. That's a nice connection. I like that. Dude, I just got out of a battle with N. I don't need any more compulsory events before I even get to explore the town. Come on.
This is Juniper's dad, so...
What?
Yes.
What?
Yeah, so
He's
now
just
there's
here.
2 professors.
What?
Are you hard of hearing? Kitty ears.
If you guys would stop talking for 20 seconds, Juniper's like 20 feet that way. Why don't you go say hi to her?
You haven't spoken to your daughter in months.
Wait, we actually get to learn about Professor Juniper and her family.
I know, right? Like, this game's great. They try really... This is, I think, the Pokemon that tried the hardest with, like, trying to create a more fleshed out world. It didn't succeed in every single element, but, like, in making, like, a bunch of characters that, like, relate to each other and, you know, like, interact or whatever. Like, just as a comparison, Gen 1... Gary, Blue, Gary, the rival, had a sister. They never talked. It's just like, oh, I have a sister. I'm going to tell her not to give you the town map. And then you talk to the sister and it's like, oh, my brother's a douchebag, isn't he? And then that's it. You never...
Bitch! She doesn't even comment on it, actually, implying that he didn't actually tell her not to give you the map. He just...
Oh, yeah, you're right. What he said... Oh, she says, oh, my grandpa's a lazy asshole, is what she says. That's right. Because he makes you go to get the thing from the... Oh, man. But yeah, they don't really... They didn't really do any kind of character relationships at all between NPCs up until this point.
Of course, back in Pallet Town, the entire human population was you, your mother, Professor Oak, and Professor Oak's family, and the guy who stands by the lake. Who's he?
The guy that stands by the lake.
Which
he
house
says
does he live in?
technology's amazing.
I don't think he lives in a house. I think he lives in that spot.
He doesn't have a house because one of the houses is Gary's, and one of the houses is yours, and there's the Pokemon Lab. That's Palatown. Where does this?
What
kid
about
live?
the research assistants in there? Do they sleep on the floor?
Maybe there's a second level with a bunch of bunks like that one winery in Skyrim.
There's a winery in Skyrim with bunk beds upstairs.
It's not a winery, it's a meadery. I'm sorry, but like, yeah, in Skyrim outside Whiterun, there's I think it's Golden Glow Meadery, and you can go in there and explore. It's part of the Thieves Guild quest later on, but if you just go in there and explore, the employees live there. They have bunks up on the second floor of the employee area. If you search around, you can even find one of them keeps erotica next to their bed. That's where the that's like where most players find the lusty Argonian maid for the first time, and have their mind blown because they write stuff like this in the Skyrim universe. Really?
Listen, we were talking about, work-life balance before. I can't imagine living at work sounds miserable. Oh, God.
I imagine it would be, yeah.
If you didn't have a house, I suppose it's better than nothing, though.
And then, like, if you explore the inn in town, you'll find, like, there's a room for the waitress to live in, and all of that. So it's a fairly common detail in that universe. Anyway.
Yeah. We'll see you all. Yeah, to say anyway, we'll see you in the next part of Pokemon Black. See you guys all later. Bye.